أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على رسول الله أما بعد, brothers and sisters, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi ta'ala wa barakatuh. And inshallah ta'ala we'll continue our sessions about Uthman radiyallahu ta'ala anhu. Today is the 5th session, and today I would like to cover two objects. The first one is Uthman's approach in his ruling, and then the second one will cover the hadith that we're talking about, the fitna, and the news that Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam gave about this fitna, and how Uthman should act when he gets into this fitna. This is just to prepare ourselves inshallah ta'ala for the next session, or the next two sessions. We will go on the fitna deep, by names, who was behind it, how they planned it, what was their objective, and how they execute their plan. And then we will talk about the misconceptions also, one session about the misconceptions about those stories that were created about Uthman, okay, or the claim that they said that Uthman is not legitimate for the position of Khilafah, so he must resign. We will talk about this, why they have done that. So we're talking about Uthman radiallahu anhu. We talk about the one who will be called Dhun Nurayn in Jannah, the man of two lights, because he married two daughters of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, Ruqayya and then Kulthum. We are talking about Uthman radiallahu anhu, one of the 10 people promised Jannah. We are talking about Uthman radiallahu anhu, the one who are also called Dhul Hijratain, the man of the two migration, because he migrated the first time, the first to migrate in the cause of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala during his migration to Abyssinia, with his wife Ruqayya, leaving behind him all of his money, all of his wealth, just for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Then the second hijrah, which is the hijrah to Medina, after the establishment of the Islamic State in Medina. We are talking about Uthman radiallahu ta'ala anhu, the one whom the angels show modesty towards Uthman. Uthman radiallahu anhu, this is like something that I did not mention last week, which is Uthman is the one who built the port of Jeddah. Jeddah, the port in Jeddah was built by Uthman radiallahu ta'ala anhu. It was in a city called Shu'aybah. Then he went to Jeddah, he examined the area, and he decided to move the port, the seaport, to Jeddah. And when he reached the sea, he entered the sea to take a shower and a bath. And he told his companions and the people with him, go inside the sea and take a bath, and make sure you keep your mi'zar. Mi'zar means the bottom, all of the bottom of your clothes. Don't take it out, because you know that Uthman was a shy person. So we're talking about one of the greatest Sahabi or Sahaba. And we talked last week about his achievement when he was a Khalifa. How he, radiallahu ta'ala anhu, was able to stabilize the revolt against Islam on the borders of the Islamic State in Azerbaijan, in Armenia, in Egypt, Alexandria. And we talked about how he even expanded the Islamic areas in Persia, controlling the rest of Persia, reaching Kabul, reaching the river of Sind, taking back Azerbaijan and Armenia and all of these areas, and also taken over and continue in North Africa, like Tunisia nowadays, and then Sudan. Sudan entered Islam at the time of Uthman radiallahu anhu. We also talked about Uthman when he the first to build the marine, the fleet, the marine fleet for the Muslimin, and it was used to spread Islam also to the islands in the Mediterranean Sea. And then we talked about one of the biggest achievements, which was very crucial, very important, which is the copying Quran on the tongue of Quraysh. After the Sahaba have seen that there are so many different narrations in Quran, and there was kind of like a warning, a big warning, that this might lead to a confusion in Quran, and we might have different copies of Quran that is not Quran. So that was one of the biggest achievements of Uthman radiallahu ta'ala anhu. Today we will continue inshallah ta'ala about these two subjects, which is his approach, let's say internally, inside Medina, inside the society. What was his approach? How did he deal with the people? And then we will talk about these hadith that talks about the fitna. So, from the time of Abu Bakr as-Siddiq radiallahu ta'ala anhu, when Abu Bakr as-Siddiq took over and he became the Khalifa, to the time Uthman died, we are talking about 24 years. 24 years, you're talking about a quarter of a century almost. It's not, it's a big time. It's not like, it's like maybe like a full generation. So within this 24 years, by the end, last years of the ruling of Uthman radiallahu anhu, things has changed. Medina itself changed. More people came to Medina from different regions, from different areas. Many of the Sahaba, the number of Sahaba were reduced due to either death or due to the fact that they used to leave Medina, going into jihad and opening more lands. And more people come to Medina from the Bedouin area, from even Persia, from here. That made like kind of a demographic change in Medina. Especially it was very obvious towards the end ruling of Uthman. The reason I mention this, because this will be like one of the key, right, that led to the revolt and against Uthman, that led to the fitna against Uthman radiallahu ta'ala anhu. Other thing that has been changed, which is the lands that was opened, the result of this, a lot of wealth came to Medina. Talking about like all Persia, Bilad al-Sham, you're talking about North Africa. A lot of money, a lot of wealth, a lot of commodity came to Bayt al-Mal, to the treasure house of the Muslimin. This, of course, make the people a bit wealthy. As we will see inshallah ta'ala in more examples how Uthman used to distribute. He doesn't even used to leave anything in Bayt al-Mal. After he spent in the army, after he pays the salary for the employee in the state, he would go and distribute the money on all people. On all people. He won't leave. Like Abu Bakr as-Siddiq radiallahu anhu was doing the same, Umar was doing the same, and Uthman was doing the same. However, during the time of Umar, we know that Umar was firm and decisive with all people, especially the rulers and the governors. When any complaint comes to Umar about any governor, Umar used to be very harsh, very tough on his governors. He won't Umar radiallahu ta'ala anhu, he won't tolerate the fact that a governor would violate the rule of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And the governors, they must report to him everything they want to do. And even he was even more harsh and tough in his own family. I'll just give like two examples. Number one, Abdullah ibn Umar. At the time of Umar al-Khattab, there was a preserved area where they used to take the camels and the animals to put them there and feed them under the supervision of the state. And that includes personal, camel for personal, for people, and some of it for sadaqah, the camel of sadaqah. One time, Umar al-Khattab, he went to the market, and he noticed that among the camels, there was few of them, they were like even healthier than the rest. That brought his attention. He said, whose camels are these? They said, well, this is for Abdullah ibn Umar, his son. Then he said, call him. When he came, he told him, listen, those camels, I want you now to go and sell them. You take your capital and all the profit, you send it back to Bayt al-Mal. He was very firm. He will not tolerate this. He said, how come? I am like any other Muslim. I come, I use the property of the state to feed my camels, and I want what people want. I want profit. He said, no. But why they are healthy? Why they are healthier than the others? They are healthier than the others because the people who are taking care of the preserved area, when they come to feed the camels, first they will say what? Feed first the camels of the son of Amir al-Mu'mineen. Water first the camels of the son of Amir al-Mu'mineen. So they preferred you over other peoples because you are my son. And I won't allow this. He was very, very tough in haqq. That's his style. That was his approach. Another time or another incident when Umar al-Khattab, he took over, he gathered his son, all of his children, and he told them, listen, don't deceive yourself that you are the children of Amir al-Mu'mineen. I'm going to warn you, if I command the people any order and you violate this order, I will double and triple your punishment. Why? Because I want to show the people that when it comes to the rules of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, there is no, classes. Everybody is the same. Everybody is the same. On the other hand, when we come and talk about Uthman radiallahu anhu, Uthman was very lenient by nature. And we did talk about this, like in the previous sessions. Uthman, he was very lenient, and he was very close to the style of Rasul sallallahu alayhi wasallam and Abu Bakr as-Siddiq radiallahu ta'ala anhu. So he did not use to reject any request from the people as long as it's halal, of course. So if somebody comes and asks him for something, he would give it to him. He radiallahu anhu used even to dismiss some governors from their positions if the people command, because he was very lenient. He doesn't want to upset the people. He wants to make sure that his citizens are living their life in a peaceful manner, in a good manner, to the point that he used to dismiss some governors. For example, I'm going to give some names now, inshallah ta'ala. I hope it will stick in your mind. For example, Al-Mughira ibn Shu'bah radiallahu anhu. He was the governor of Al-Kufa at the time of Umar al-Khattab. They complained about him. So Uthman radiallahu anhu dismissed him and he hired Sa'd ibn Abi Waqqas. Then they complained. Then he dismissed Sa'd ibn Abi Waqqas and he hired his brother from his mother's side, Al-Walid ibn Uqba. Then they complained about him and he dismissed his brother from his mother's side, and so on. He was like this. So, and when the wealth increased due to the opening of new lands, that included, as we said, almost like Persians, North Africa, and the islands in the Mediterranean Sea, a lot of wealth came. So Uthman, he used to spend the money on the people. It was narrated that Uthman was the first to increase the salary of the people by 100 dirhams. He agreed on the distribution of Umar radiallahu anhu. He kept it as is, but he increased it. He used to give, Umar, he used to give what? He used to give the people, like in Medina, 1 dirham. In Ramadan, for example, he used to give 1 dirham per day for each one, for each single soul. Uthman gives 2. And then the Sahaba came to Uthman and told him, why don't you, in Ramadan, make the food and invite the people to eat the food instead of like giving money? He said, no, I will make sure that the people, they are full and satisfied inside their houses. And he used to love his relatives. Umar was very tough on his relatives. Uthman by nature, even before Islam, even during Jahiliyyah, he used to love his relatives a lot. And because he was rich, he used to spend so much money on them, and he used to give them money. And his relatives are among the Muslimin. So he used to give them part of the share as Muslims from Bayt al-Mal. And if Bayt al-Mal does not have enough money, he used to spend from his own money on the people. That's what his style was, very lenient. Anybody comes to him, he would give him, like the style of Rasul sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. Rasul sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, for example, one time, one of the Sahabi, his name was Bilal ibn al-Harith. He came to the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wa sallam and he told the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, oh Rasulullah, why don't you give me that like XYZ piece of land? It's a dead land and I will cultivate. So Rasulullah told him, oh yeah, go ahead, take it. So Bilal ibn al-Harith, he took that land and it was bigger than his capacity. That's what the style of Rasulullah. Somebody comes, he asks him for something halal, he give it to him. When Umar took over, he went and he saw that land, and he saw that part of that land was cultivated, and the rest of the land, it was not cultivated. Then he said, whose land is this? They told him this for Bilal ibn Harith. He said, okay, call him. I want to talk to him. So they brought Bilal ibn Harith and told him, this land that was given to you by Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam, I did not see you like cultivate all of it. Then he said, yes, because it's beyond my capacity. Then he told him, okay, take as much as you can cultivate according to your capacity and return the rest to Bayt al-Mal and we'll take care of it. Then Bilal ibn Harith said, no, I won't give you something that Rasul gave me. He said, no, by Allah, you will give it back. And he did. Look at the style of Umar. Firm when it comes to these. Rasul was very, very lenient. One man came to Rasul, for example, from Yemen. And he told him, oh Rasulullah, there is a mountain of salt. There is a mountain of salt. Can I take it? Nobody owns that mountain. Can I take it and use it? And I will get like a benefit and I will benefit the people. Rasul told him, yes, it's yours. And one of the companions said, oh Rasulullah, do you know what you gave him? He said, what? Then he said, you gave him the running water, the spring water. Spring water means what? Means the water that comes by nature as spring water and running water. This comes under the category of public ownership. Public ownership means the ummah owns it and nobody individual can own it. So this man, he reminded Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he told him, this is a salt. This is a salt. It is a continuous resources that nobody can own. Then this would be a violation of a hukum of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Then Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, no, you can't take it. So look, the difference between the style of Umar and the style of Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam. The same thing, Uthman was very close to the style of Abu Bakr radiyallahu ta'ala anhu. I'll give two examples. Number one, there was one of those who entered Islam and then went back to Kufr and then went back to Islam. His name was Uyayna ibn Hisn. Uyayna ibn Hisn, he was the head of the tribe of Ghatafan. He entered Islam after the opening of Mecca. And once Rasulullah died, he went back to Kufr and he was fighting the Muslim army. Then they captured him and he became a Muslim one more time. So this man, he came with his friend. His name was Al-Aqra' ibn Habis. He came to Abu Bakr as-Siddiq radiallahu anhu and they told him, oh Khalifa, we have a very huge land, okay, that has no date, no tree, nothing, not cultivated. If you wish, you can give it to us and we will cultivate, again, we'll benefit ourselves and we will benefit the society. Then Abu Bakr as-Siddiq said, okay. So he gave it to them and he wrote a contract and he said, this contract is not valid until Umar signed it. And Umar was not with the Sahaba at that time. He was not sitting in that sitting. So they took this book and they went to Umar and they told him, well, this is a land that was given to us by Abu Bakr as-Siddiq radiallahu anhu, and he said to make you a witness. And he said, this is not valid until you sign it. Then Umar, he looked at it. Once he read it, he spit in the book and he erased it and dropped it on the ground and he said, for what? For what you are getting this huge land? If Rasul gave you in the past, Rasul used to give those people who entered Islam newly to attract them to Islam. That time Islam was not as strong as now. Now Islam is dignified, now Islam is strong. Go, work, spend like your effort, and then get whatever you wanna get. See the big difference here? Umar, Abu Bakr as-Siddiq would say, okay, take it, lenient. Umar was firm. Uthman radiallahu ta'ala anhu was the same. Anybody comes and asks Uthman, he gives him. Anybody comes and seek for any help, any support from Uthman would never hesitate. He will give it to him. He was very lenient, maybe even more than Abu Bakr as-Siddiq radiallahu ta'ala anhu. Unfortunately, this, with the change that took place in Medina, the demographic change that took place in the Medina, and so many people came from outside, those whose hearts were like full of diseases, people who wanted to get money in an easy way, people who wanted to be hired in a position without being skilled. this leniency of Uthman radiallahu anhu made those people to start planning for a big and huge fitna. That's why I mentioned that this change. Now let's go and see some of the examples of the approach of Uthman in his time. Uthman radiallahu anhu, his approach as Umar and as Abu Bakr as-Siddiq radiallahu ta'ala anhu, he used to look at himself as the only one who was responsible. He was responsible about the ummah. It was narrated by Musa ibn Talha ibn Ubaidillah. He said, I saw Uthman radiallahu anhu going in the streets, in the market, talking to the people, asking them individually, telling them if they need any help, if they need anything. And he would go and check and ask on the prices when he goes and visit the market. So he was looking at himself as the only one who is responsible, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will hold him accountable. Uthman would never go and hide himself in his house, or he did not have a palace with a door with what we call hajib, or somebody to block the people from entering his house, and so on and so forth. Uthman radiallahu ta'ala anhu, he was this type, like Umar ibn Khattab radiallahu ta'ala anhu, from this aspect. Uthman's policy radiallahu ta'ala anhu, as we said, his policy is to distribute everything extra on the people. He won't leave anything in the Bayt al-Mal. It was narrated عن Urwa ibn Zubayr, he said, I witnessed the era of Uthman radiallahu anhu. And he said, وَمَا مِن نَفْسٍ مُسْلِمَةٍ إِلَّا وَلَهَا فِي مَالِ اللَّهِ حَقٌّ. Every single Muslim soul at the time of Uthman, every single Muslim soul gets its share. Nobody was left behind. No poverty. No needy people. Nothing called unemployment as our situation, as the ummah situation nowadays. This what happens when the rules of Islam are implemented, and when we have sincere people like Uthman radiallahu ta'ala anhu to implement these rules. This is what the ummah is missing. Look what he says, every single person. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in Surah Al-Anfal, when he said, لِكَيْ لَا يَكُونَ دُولَةً بَيْنَ الْأَغْنِيَاءِ مِنْكُمْ, so the wealth has to be distributed in a way that does not circulate among the hand of the wealthy people. Our situation nowadays, it is totally the opposite of the ayah. The money, the resources of the ummah's right is being circulated in the hand of few people, leaving behind the ummah living this hardship and poverty. At the time of Uthman, it was not the case. At the time of Uthman, look, so much, a lot of money comes. The money itself, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala called it as fitna, that could deviate you, but not with the Sahaba. Uthman, he has, as we said, he has the dunya in his hand, but never occupied his heart. He had it in his hand, but never got in his heart. He did not prefer himself. He did not prefer his relatives, as they claim, over the rest of the Muslimin. No, every single soul gets its share. And in another narration, he says, at the time of Uthman, Uthman or whoever represents Uthman, he used to say, "O Muslims, come for your rizq." And the people would come and take all of their rizq. And then, "O people, come and take your clothes." And people would come and take their clothes. This was the style of Uthman radiallahu ta'ala anhu. This is the policy of Uthman radiallahu anhu ta'ala anhu. And the style of Uthman also, as Abu Bakr, as Umar, when he implements the rules of Islam, he implements the rule of Islam on everybody. There is nothing called a ruler and rule people. And the rulers, when they do mistakes, when they violate the rules, nobody touch them. Or if the son of the ruler does a mistake and violate, nobody can touch him, or if his cousin. No. At the time of Uthman radiallahu ta'ala anhu, he got some reports about his brother from his mother's side, the one who hired him as a governor on Al-Kufa. So the complaint came that your brother, he drinks. That your brother, he drinks. So right away, he did not say, well, this is my brother, I can't mess with him. No, he went, he opened the investigation, and he got some witnesses. Regardless of those witnesses, regardless of that was fabricated or not, regardless if the story was true or not, but there is a complaint, and there are some witnesses in this complaint that Al-Walid ibn Uqba, he was drinking. Then he said, he called Ali radiallahu ta'ala anhu, and he told Ali radiallahu anhu to go and apply the rules of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala on him. So he lashed him 80 times. He lashed him 80 times. And because of that also, he dismissed him from his position. He dismissed him from his position. This is the style of Uthman. One of the styles of Uthman radiallahu ta'ala anhu, he, as we said, he would never hide himself from the people. It was narrated by Al-Hasan al-Basri rahimahullah. Al-Hasan al-Basri, one of the tabi'een, one of the great scholars of Basra. He said, رَأَيْتُ Uthman, I saw Uthman radiallahu ta'ala anhu, sleeping in the masjid, and he has his garment as his pillow. He would not go and hide himself and close the door in front of the people. He would always look for the affairs of the people. He would always look for the issues of the people. He would not hide himself. One of the policies of Uthman and the style of Uthman and the approach of Uthman radiallahu ta'ala anhu, Uthman radiallahu ta'ala anhu, he never reject any critiques. If somebody comes and he criticizes him, or if he asks him to do something, or he asks him or telling him you're doing this and that, he would not tell him, sit down, what you are talking about, I am the Khalifa, I am above the constitution, nobody can mess with me. No, he would accept this. One of the incidents that was narrated by Alqamah ibn Waqqas, he said, one guy, his name was Amr ibn al-As, he said to Uthman, when he was delivering the speech, when he was giving the khutbah, Uthman giving a khutbah on the minbar of Rasul sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, and said, Ya Uthman. He did not say, O King, O Amir al-Mu'mineen, or O Khalifa. Did not even mention all of these. He said, Ya Uthman, O Uthman, you are taking this ummah in all types of hardship. Uthman, lenient. He said, you are taking the ummah in all types of hardship. So repent to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and seek His forgiveness. Uthman did not tell him, get out of my face or go away, or he did not say, come arrest him, or no. Right away, Uthman, he turned his face towards the Qibla, and he raised his hand up high, and he starts saying, saying, I seek, O Allah, I seek for your forgiveness. O Allah, I repent to you. And all the people behind him, they raised their hands, and then they start doing even the same dua. This was the style of Uthman. These are just few examples that shows us, and with what we talked about last week, about his achievement, we have seen that the Uthman radiallahu ta'ala anhu did not change anything. He was following the book of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the sunnah of the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, and he was following the method of Umar al-Khattab radiallahu anhu, and the method of Abu Bakr as-Siddiq radiallahu anhu, the adoption, whatever he adopted. I'm not talking about the style, I'm talking about the adoption, the same rules that were adopted by Umar and by Abu Bakr as-Siddiq radiallahu ta'ala. Not that only. when Uthman was under the sanction in his house, we will talk about this in more details. He ordered all the Sahaba and he told them, drop your weapon and go stay in your home. I don't want anyone, I don't want to spill any drop of blood for my sake. I will be patient on my destiny. Look, even with this, he would go and sacrifice himself. Even though the Sahaba and the sons and the children of the Sahaba, they came and they told him, just give us the order. Give us the order. We will go and finish those people up. He would say, don't. I ask you by Allah now to drop the weapons and go back and stay in your home. That is Uthman radiallahu ta'ala anhu. And since we mentioned the fitna, and that we'll talk about it inshallah ta'ala next week and the week after in more details, but I was really searching and I thought it's very good before we talk about the fitna to see what did the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam say about this fitna, and to just clarify the things that Uthman radiallahu ta'ala anhu, during this fitna, he was right and he was following the haqq radiallahu ta'ala anhu. I'm just going to mention just a few hadith and then we'll conclude inshallah ta'ala. The first hadith, it was narrated by Ka'b ibn Ujra. He said, Al-Rasul sallallahu alayhi wa sallam was talking about the fitna that was nearby. While he's talking, he said, a man covering his head passed by. And then Al-Rasul sallallahu alayhi wa sallam said, this man who was passing by, he will be following the guidance. He will be guided. Then Ka'b ibn Ujra, he said, I jumped and I hold Uthman from his hand. When I looked at his face, I said, O Rasulullah, are you talking about this? He said, yes, this. And he said, it was Uthman radiallahu ta'ala anhu. In another hadith, it's almost the same way, the same style, but different wording. And this hadith also was narrated by Ibn Umar radiallahu anhu. Abdullah ibn Umar, he said, Rasul sallallahu alayhi wa sallam was talking about the fitna that is going to come. And then a man passed by. And he said, this man will be killed. This man will be killed, oppressed, unjustly. And then Abdullah ibn Umar said, I looked and I found out that he was Uthman radiallahu ta'ala anhu. So look at this hadith. In this hadith, it tells us that Rasul sallallahu alayhi wa sallam was talking about this fitna, and Rasul sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, he says that Uthman radiallahu ta'ala anhu is on the right path. Uthman is on the right path. Another hadith that said, read by Sahih Bukhari, when Rasul sallallahu alayhi wa sallam and Abu Bakr as-Siddiq and Umar ibn al-Khattab and Uthman, all of them, they were on the mountain of Uhud. The mountain of Uhud started shaking. Then Rasul sallallahu alayhi wa sallam kicked the mountain with his feet and he said, stay firm, O Uhud. Upon you there is a prophet, and Siddiq wa Shahidan, and 2 martyrs. And the history proved Umar radiallahu anhu was killed as a martyr, and Uthman radiallahu ta'ala anhu was killed as a martyr. Aisha radiallahu anha, and this is, I will conclude with this hadith inshallah ta'ala. Aisha radiallahu anha, she said that Rasul sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, when he was sick, Rasul sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, he said, I wish I have some of my companions. Then they said, should we bring Abu Bakr? Then Rasul sallallahu alayhi wa sallam kept silent. Then they said, okay, should we bring Umar? Then Rasul sallallahu alayhi wa sallam stay silent. Then they said, should we bring Uthman? Then Rasul sallallahu alayhi wa sallam said, yes. So when Uthman came, Rasul sallallahu alayhi wa sallam signaled Aisha to leave them, and he started talking. Aisha narrates this hadith, and he started talking privately, secretly with Uthman radiallahu anhu. And Aisha said, we have seen the expressions of Uthman, his face got changed. The color of his face got changed. And we realized that he's telling him something very, very serious. And this is like during the death of the Prophet ﷺ, when the Prophet was sick. So that happens before the death of Uthman, 24 years before the death of Uthman radiallahu anhu. And Uthman never tell anybody about this except on the day when he was killed. Except on the day when he was killed. And he did not mention everything Rasul ﷺ told him. In another narration, Aisha said, Rasul ﷺ will tell him and talk to him, and then he would ask him with a high voice, do you understand what I'm telling you? Then Uthman, yes, I said, I understand every single word you said. 3 times he did that. 3 times. And after that, Aisha radiallahu anha, in another narration, she said that I heard the Rasul ﷺ says, Ya Uthman, in wallaka Allahu hadha al-amra yawman, فأرادك المنافقون أن تخلع قميصك الذي قمصك الله فلا تخلعه. O Uthman, if Allah places you in authority over this matter, which is the Khilafah, someday, and the hypocrites want to rid you of the garment with which Allah has clothed you, giving you the position, do not take it off. Do not take it off. Uthman, when he was under sanction, Abu Hurairah radiallahu anhu came and he said, I want to see Uthman, I want to talk to him. Can I talk to Uthman? So Uthman gave him the permission to come, and then Abu Hurairah told him, he said, here the Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam says, إنكم ستقتلون بعدي ستلقون بعدي فتنة واختلافا. Fitnatan wa ikhtilafan. He said that Rasul said that after me you will face a fitna. You will face a fitna. And he said, عليكم, and Rasul advised us, and he said, عليكم بالأمين وأصحابه. عليكم بالأمين وأصحابه. Stick with the trustworthy person and his companions. When the Sahaba, they came to defend Uthman, he said, no, I have given the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam a promise and a covenant that I will have patience in what happens to me. This is what was revealed from that secret that Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam gave Uthman. I would like to stop here, inshallah ta'ala, and next week we will start talking about the fitna in details, and we will give the details by names, how it started and how it led to the killing of Uthman radiallahu ta'ala anhu. Jazakumullahu khairan wa assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.